Hello once again, and welcome back to another edition of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. And I've actually got my winter shirt on, coming off a winning week. I'm very proud of that because that doesn't happen very often. Interesting week in sports. It's kind of a slow time of year for what I'm into. We had the All-Star game this week and the Home Run Derby. I'm not, from a sports betting perspective, I'm not much of a baseball fan. And the Home Run Derby is actually a pretty big sports betting event. Not so much the All-Star game, which explains kind of why baseball isn't that popular these days. I gave up on betting exhibition games after I want to say maybe 2016, 2017 All-Star game, whatever Derek Jeter's last All-Star game was, because after the game, the National League pitchers admitted that they gave him good pitches to hit on purpose just because they wanted him to do good. And I just felt like that's really a situation that can't be really quantitatively handicapped, and it was just it really disappointed me and fed me up with that type of event. Same with the Home Run Derby. I'm sure there are edges to be found when betting on those types of events, but I just avoid them. However, we're waiting for football to start. We've got CFL at the beginning of August. We got college at the end of August, and then we got NFL in September. We're waiting for the Premier League to start in England for soccer. We do have MLS going on this weekend. That's about it as far as the major sports. I guess WNBA, if you're into that. There's still, it's 2-2 in the NBA Finals. I'm not sure. I feel like there's much edge in betting either side right now in that, so I'm going to pass on making a pick in that game. But today we're going to continue our NFL preview series and talk about the AFC West. And in my little preview description, I actually put San Diego Chargers when I meant Los Angeles Chargers. But, of course, we have the four AFC West teams, including defending AFC champion Kansas City. And we'll talk about their odds and what I think about those teams going into the season. You have to remember, at this point, there are players that are coming off injuries. There's players that are going to make the team we don't really know about yet. So it's kind of reading tea leaves, but I'll tell you what I do know, and we'll go from there. But before we get into that, let's do what we always do and start by updating my bankroll. And as I said, I had a winning week. Of course, the big winner was the future I had on the Italy to win the Euro 2020. I pulled the trigger on that bet in the quarterfinal stage. It was plus 370. So it paid a profit of $30 to the bankroll, and there's a nice little chunk of change there. And then I had three wagers in the NASCAR race in Atlanta for the third of a unit each on the three Penske drivers to win. They all flirted with the top 10, top 5. Never contended for the lead. Kurt Busch won. Kyle Busch was second. Did not see that coming. I think Kurt Busch, most weeks he's usually about 25-1 to win a race. So obviously he was pretty long odds. But no chance there. Although the Hendrick cars did not really do that well. They didn't really compete outside the top 5. Inside the top 5. I think Larson was 4th or 5th. Anyway, if you do the math, that's a profit of $21 to the bankroll. Makes our new bankroll $306, and our bet size, as we divide by 30, because we try to remain selective, we're going to make our bet size $10 going forward into this new week. So with the shortage of sporting events this time of year, I don't think we're going to have to worry too much about overbetting. But there are a few bets I like this week. So let's move right along and get into our AFC West preview. And, of course, we have defending AFC champs, Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos, formerly owned by Homer Simpson, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Los Angeles Chargers, not the San Diego Superchargers. But let's start with Kansas City. And, of course, they are the two-time defending AFC champions. They've been in the last two Super Bowls, split them. They are the overwhelming favorites to win this division, minus 307. By the way, these odds are from Pinnacle. Your odds may vary at your local sports book, but this will give you a general idea of where these teams are priced today as I broadcast this live. To win the AFC, the favorites at plus 250. And to win the Super Bowl, actually, the favorites at plus 414. So you've got the overwhelming favorites to win a championship here. The quarterback, of course, is Patrick Mahomes, the $500 million man. Signed a 10-year, $500 million contract. I'm going to do what I did last week. I'm going to show you the skill positions for fantasy purposes, more or less, so you can get an idea of who's where on the team and how that will impact what's to be expected of these teams going forward. So at the running back, you've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire as their number one guy, and Darrell Williams and Jerick McKinnon as their top three running backs. Williams has been a good change of pace back for them. He's more of a north-south power runner. And McKinnon is a very good sub for Helaire. Helaire showed a lot of durability because he's not a huge guy. Of course, he came out of LSU. And then, of course, at wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, the fastest man in the NFL, McCole Hardman, and Pringle is the number 3 wide receiver, Byron Pringle. And Travis Kelce, of course, is the tight end, one of the premier tight ends in the game. Harrison Butker is the kicker. And, you know, my mantra is kicking matters, kickers' lives matter. It's a big part of winning football games. It may not be a big part of fantasy football, but it's a huge part of winning games covering spreads. You need to know who the kickers are. You need to know what the kicking conditions are like. It gives you an edge when you're betting on sports. I can't emphasize that enough. So on paper, the Chiefs actually have a very deep, balanced 3-4 defense. However, recently Frank Clark was indicted or arrested and is facing criminal charges. I do not know the details off the top of my head. But it sounded very serious, and he may miss some significant time. And he's an important cog of their defense. Will it change the overall scheme of things? Obviously, this is a team that can outscore most of their opponents. There's going to be very few teams that are going to be able to stymie Kansas City when healthy. Some cracks in the armor this past playoffs. Obviously, Mahomes was hurt during the Super Bowl. You could tell that he had a bad leg. Will he be able to stay healthy? If he is not healthy, what are their chances? If you lose Tyreek Hill and lose that deep threat, if you lose Travis Kelce and lose that premier possession receiver, they're pretty deep at running back. I wouldn't be too concerned about. They had Shady McCoy on their team, and he didn't even really get any run. That's the running game is actually, I think, is the deepest part of this offense, believe it or not. But if their skill positions get hurt, how does that affect this team? Can they win with Henne? If they had to play 3 or 4 games with Chad Henne and not to lock down a division title, can they do that? Can they do that? Now they have a good coach. Andy Reid has learned to manage the game better as time has gone on. He's not so much of a timeout waster as he was when he was in Philadelphia. But that's my biggest concern. Can they stay healthy? Will the rest of the league or the rest of the division catch up to them? I do feel like, obviously, they're a playoff team. I feel like everybody's a little bit closer to them than they were last year. And it's going to take some special performances for them to continue to dominate going forward. But still the favorites without question. Let's move on to the Denver Broncos. To win the division, they are actually the second choice at plus 558. To win the AFC, plus 1477, almost 15 to 1 there. And to win the Super Bowl, 31-56. I've seen between 30 and 35 to 1. Quarterbacks, you got Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Running backs, you got Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. And then at the wide receiver, you got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler. The tight end, Noah Fant. And Brandon McManus, your kicker in that high altitude in Denver. And he has been very successful there. First look, the odds for this team winning a Super Bowl and the odds for this team winning the AFC are unusually correlated to the possibility of Aaron Rodgers going to Denver. Aaron Rodgers is the Green Bay quarterback who's very unhappy, and he wants to be traded. And he's the reigning MVP of the National Football League. He wants to go to a West Coast team. He specifically said Las Vegas or Denver. And the Green Bay does not want to accommodate him. He's threatening to sit out. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure what week the trade deadline is. I think it's like set week 7 or 8. That changes. That flips the script for the whole division, for the whole AFC, really, if that happens. It also flips the script for the NFC North. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I feel like the Denver Broncos are not really graded at what they're at, what they should be at. They're more like a 50 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, 10 to 1 to win the division type of thing, 30 to 1 to win the AFC. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, is an improvement over Drew Lock. That's just my opinion. The team may be more inclined to go with Drew Lock as the starter. But their ability to compete in the AFC this year is specifically tied to the defense and not the offense. Their defense is complete coming into this year, but it is aging, and they've got two key components coming off injury years, Von Miller and their starting defensive nose tackle, his name escapes me at the moment. Purcell and Von Miller. They need comeback years out of those guys, and they need their defense to stay healthy. And obviously, they're going to, have to develop some type of defensive dominance to even have a shot in this division, because they're playing against, I think, 3 offenses that are superior to what they're putting on the field. So I think chasing after Denver Broncos futures, unless you know they're going to get Aaron Rodgers, is fool's gold. I would stay away from it. But you never know. I mean, it's a tough division. I mean, they play each other twice. I wouldn't be surprised to see Denver split games with Kansas City or split games with the Raiders. But as far as them going outside the division and beating good teams, it's going to be very tough. So let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. To win the division, 18-23. And to win the AFC, they're about 34 to 1. To win the Super Bowl, about 70 to 1. I actually took a future on the Raiders to win the Super Bowl at 70 to 1. And that was when I first heard about the Rodgers trade, because Las Vegas is a possible partner. The problem is Derek Carr does not want to play for any other team but the Raiders. They would have to trade Derek Carr to pick up Aaron Rodgers, and that's the immovable object in the whole scenario. So it's very unlikely that that trade would happen. But Derek Carr is a very serviceable quarterback, and he's got the smoky eyes when he's playing on the field, so he's very pleasant to look at. But you've got Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. They're slowly working plays into the book for Mariota to come in and spell Derek Carr from time to time, which I think is good. And I think that, having Mariota come in to close out some games, especially when the team's ahead and they're going to grind it out, I think that would be a good project, a good strategy going forward for them. Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake as their running backs, that's going to be one of the best combinations in the league this year. A lot of people are not talking about that. And if both of those guys stay healthy, boy, do they have a running attack to work with. And that would make things a lot easier for Derek Carr. So you've got Henry Ruggs, John Brown, Hunter Renfrow as your top 3 wide receivers, all very decent receivers. Ruggs had some good moments last year. It'll be interesting to see if he can continue to be a deep threat along with John Brown. He, of course, had some very good years with the Bills. And then you have Darren Waller at tight end, who is considered one of the premier tight ends in the league. He has had some staying healthy issues, and he is a huge target. So he has worked well with Derek Carr. He's been more of a possession guy, but he's mowed some guys over. He has some highlight reel plays. Be interesting to see how much a part of the offense that Darren Waller is going forward. Daniel Carlson is the kicker. Serviceable last year. We don't really know. Of course, they're playing in an indoor stadium now in Las Vegas, so it is not going to be a windy Oakland. So 4-3 defense, not deep at linebacker. The defense is returning pretty much completely healthy. And here's the issue. Can Chucky, a.k.a. John Gruden, improve the defense against this division? You have, of course, Kansas City and San Diego. Did it again. Los Angeles, with offenses that have been scoring points. Can you limit them and give your team a chance? Because your team can establish now, your team can, that play action will work tremendous if they can start grinding out rushing yardage. And controlling that tempo will really help. If your offense can grind out big drives, you're keeping Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert off the field, and that's good for you. So the other thing is there a home field advantage in Vegas? So last year was the first year for the Raiders in Vegas, and they played in an empty stadium. So we have no idea what the atmosphere is going to be like for Raider games. And we know that they had quite a boisterous crowd in Oakland. So it'll be interesting to see if that Vegas mojo that the Vegas Golden Knights have in the NHL, if that carries over to the NFL and this stadium, and they can generate that kind of home field advantage. That would be a big plus for them. So I'm interested to see how their home games work out this year. Of course, you've got to stay healthy, but this is a team that can lose one of their skill positions and not fall to pieces. And I think Vegas is a team that's very underrated. Unfortunately, they're in the same division as the Chiefs. So in the long scheme of things, I don't think they're going to compete for a Super Bowl, but you never know. You never know. Sure, Mahomes could go down with a freak injury, and that division's wide open. And then finally, I lost my page for the Chargers. We have Justin Herbert for the Chargers. I lost my page for the Chargers. I'm so upset about this. So let's pull up some odds for the Los Angeles Chargers. Bear with me, folks. Here we go, futures. AFC West, the Chargers are plus 609. To win the AFC, the Chargers are plus 1567. And to win the Super Bowl, the Chargers are 2607. So that's, I've seen them as high as 35 to 1. It's a new coaching regime for the Chargers. Their first-year coach is the former defensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. They have obviously Justin Herbert at quarterback and Austin Eckler at running back. They've brought in about 4 or 5 other running backs into camp. It is going to be definitely they're going to go for a committee depth type of thing at running back. Eckler has had injury issues in the past, but he has been a very balanced rushing and receiving back. And then you have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams as your top 2 wide receivers, and they both have had injury issues, and they're both veterans. And then they've brought in Jared Cook at tight end, and their kicker escapes me at the moment. But this team is it all revolves around Herbert. He has been able to generate offense for this team and keep them competitive in games. And where this team is expected to shine this year is going to be with the defense. The Chargers have a 3-4 defense with a massive pass rush. Of course, you've got Bosa and Kwanu or Makwanu. I butchered his name, but they're the edge rushers on the defense. Of course, they were in. Bosa was injured last year. This team is pretty much returning its entire defense, and the coaching staff is going to bring a defensive shine to this new coaching regime, to this team. So they are looking like Denver as a team that wants to concentrate on their defense shutting down the opposing offense, where their offense scoring enough to win as opposed to not having to go to shootout mode. So you're going to have, you don't want to have these typical AFC West 28-24 or 28-27 games. You want to have a 31-17 type game or a 24-10 type game. It's a tall order. They don't have much. They are now splitting home field with the Rams at the new, SoFi Stadium, I think. I don't know the corporate sponsorships, but it will be interesting to see if they get that much of a home field advantage as well, where the Rams will probably have more. The Rams drew more at the Coliseum, where they drew very little at their soccer stadium where they were playing their home games. And, of course, the Chargers have had perennial years of kicking issues, which they haven't resolved. I think there's 4 kickers on their depth chart right now. And I'm very sorry I lost the graphics page for that. But I also feel that the Chargers are overrated in the betting markets. I do not think it's a bad team. I think if the Chargers were in the AFC South, they'd be a contender for a division title. But I just feel like they are in a tough division. The Raiders are underrated. The Chargers are overrated. Broncos are a little underrated. Kansas City is obviously the favorite to win it all. It's a division where you wonder if Mahomes stays healthy all year, Kansas City probably does get a bye. But if he misses a few games, or Tyreek Hill and Kelsey miss significant time, they probably don't get a bye, and they have to play that extra playoff game. It's a big difference in who's going to win the Super Bowl. I would actually, if you like Kansas City to win it all, I would actually wait till maybe week 4, 5, 6, 7. If they lose a couple of games and they're 4-3, or they're 4-2, their odds may drop to like 10-1, and that's when you want to buy your ticket to win the Super Bowl. So that's our AFC West preview. Hope you found that helpful. I'm sorry I lost my Chargers page because I had a little more information on there that I can't remember off the top of my head, but we will keep going, and we're going to go right on to the weekend in motorsports. We've got the British Grand Prix, and it's at Silverstone, and we have a new format this weekend, and they are going to have, for the first time, a sprint race. I want to say it's 10 laps. I don't quote me on that, but it's a very short race. It might be 100 kilometers. I don't know. I can't. It's 5 kilometers a lap. Might be 50 kilometers. But the sprint race is going to be tomorrow, and it's going to determine qualifying for the main event on Sunday. This will give teams extra information, extra data running. Some teams may take this race way more seriously than others. Obviously, the teams running for the championship will take it very seriously. But it gives you more data on how quickly you can get in and out of the pits, which tires perform the best, what type of race strategy you want to use. And it's a very interesting experiment, and they'll see how it all plays out. So as of this morning, the two main contenders for the win on Sunday are Max Verstappen. He was about minus 190, and Lewis Hamilton is plus 185. Now, Lewis Hamilton is British. He has raced in Silverstone since he was racing go-karts as a kid. He has won 6 of the last 7 British Grand Prix. Now, I know that Max Verstappen has won pretty much every race in the last 5-6 weeks. And Red Bull has dominated for the last month and a half. But if there is a race that Mercedes is going to come back and win and Lewis Hamilton is going to want to win, it's going to be this one on his home track. And I don't know, because of the sprint race, we don't really know what the pre-race odds are going to be because we don't know Lewis Hamilton's qualifying position. But if he's in the top 3 and he's getting plus 200 to win this race, I like him to win. I think this is one of the races where he will have an advantage over Verstappen driving if their cars are even close. And it's up to Mercedes to come out with a good strategy to give him a shot at winning. I know that Valtteri Bottas, the other Mercedes driver, has not played well as a number 2 driver. He hasn't really wanted to follow team orders. So I don't know if that's been worked out behind closed doors or not. But Lewis Hamilton wants to win this race really badly. And I think this is the week that you would want to bet on him to win. If you're getting plus 200, plus 250, I don't see how you can't throw a unit on there. So we'll see how it all plays out. And then finally, we've got the Foxwoods 301 at New Hampshire, a 1-mile oval. And Harvick has dominated this race. So he's won 2 of the last 3, and his average finishing position is 2.33, which means I think he's got 2 firsts and a 4th or something along those lines. So he's almost a lock for a top 5. I would think. Now, Harvick has not had a great year. He's not happy with his car. He's not happy with his team. But you would have to think that if this would be one of the races that he has a legit shot to win with his past performances here. And he is currently sitting at 15-1 to win this race. And those are pretty darn good odds. Truex and Hamilton are the top Gibbs drivers here, and they're reflected. I think they are like the second and third choices in the betting right now. I feel like they do have Hamlin hasn't won a race all year. Truex has been very competitive. He was in the top 5 last week. He did have some problems early and had to go to the back of the field, and he came back up front. So if he can have a mistake-free race, you feel like Truex has a legit shot to win here. And then Elliott is the only Hendrick car that has a top 5 here at this track. The Hendrick cars, the last 2 races have started to level off against the other cars. You think that whatever advantage they may have found, it's been kind of evened out since then. We'll see, but like I said, if the odds to win don't really appeal to you, you can find often good value bets in the deeper finishes, top 5, top 10, top 20. And I'm going to show you that right now with my picks. So, okay, I'm going to take Lewis Hamilton. I'm going to list it at plus 185. I have a feeling that he will be higher than that by the time I get to the sportsbook and place my wager. We will see. But I feel like this is his chance to shine, to show what he has. That track, he has more experience on than anybody else, maybe except Sebastian Vettel. And certainly he's going to want to win his home Grand Prix. I'm going to put a bet on Kevin Harvick to win at New Hampshire at 15-1. I think those odds are too good to pass up. But I have these others. I'm actually placing 5 wagers this week, so I hope I'm not over betting here. But let's take a look. Ryan Newman is a top 20. His average finish at this race is 11th. Plus 140 to finish in the top 20. That's not even the top half of the field. There's going to be about 38, 39 cars here. So then Tyler Reddick, plus 150 to finish in the top 10. His average finish here is about 10. And then Cole Custer, minus 140 to finish in the top 20. His average finish is about 11 or 12. And I think it's really not difficult to finish in the top 20 unless you have a huge issue with pit mistakes, penalties, or mechanical trouble. You should be competitive enough to finish in the top 20 if you have a car that, can give you a top 10 finish. So I feel like those are really great bets. You might want to look into those if your local sportsbook has them. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Hope I didn't screw up that West preview too much, but we'll have another preview next week, and we'll have some more sports to handicap and hopefully have some more wagers for you. And thank you for spending time with me this weekend, and I'll play the outro music for you, and we'll go get some winners. Thanks, everybody. Take care.